Hello, we're back. It's all for United, and well, my goodness, they say a week's a long time in politics. It's even longer in football at the moment because, my goodness, just when we feel like we're turning the corner, smack straight back into a wall again. Defeat against Bournemouth, defeat against Bayern Munich, and quite frankly, just defeated fans. I think just about everywhere at the moment. It's not the most ideal of starts to a season that we've ever had. It's not the most ideal of seasons at the minute, and it's certainly not looking as enjoyable as we thought it was going to be at the start of the season. But we are going to try our best, as we do on this channel, to be as impartial and as honest as we always are. It's not agenda driven, it's just a discussion, just like we're all down the pub having a little chat about what do you reckon about United at the weekend. But we can't be held responsible for how negative that might come across based on, I think, honestly, the dross that we've been served up this week. But we shall see. We are in the company of two fantastic fellas, both of whom are worth their salt in the footballing world. We, of course, have Dan, my ever-able co-host, over there to my left shoulder, and then just below us there we've got Stu Woolley as well. So I'm going to leave it to you two. I'm going to nip straight out because I've been lagging a little bit, so I'm just going to go and sort my laptop out, and I'm going to leave these two just very quickly just to have a little chat about what your opinions are and what your thoughts are about this week so far, and has it changed your general sort of feeling about this season? Dan,
I'll go first.
Yeah,
I'm like a yo-yo this week. I've gone from absolutely hating Ten Hag to thinking we need to get rid, to a day later not wanting to get rid and blaming the players, to the day later questioning Ten Hag's interviews in the media and everything else that's been going on. I'm just yo-yoing so much. I tweeted out just a minute ago, it's supposed to be the theatre of dreams, and it's a theatre of nightmares, and it has been for a decade. And it's getting so hard. I'll be honest. I Barry messaged yesterday like, "Oh, do you want to do a show like tonight?" And I didn't want to because it's so hard to come and talk about it and be positive and not come across as like agenda driven or whatever else. It's just so frustrating. The Bournemouth game properly did me over. That's when I'm back to when Mourinho or Van Gaal was in charge, where I genuinely don't. It's not that I don't care. It's not a surprise anymore, and it's a really, really bad place to be at in terms of the club you basically. I put football above pretty much everything. So to go into a weekend and be like, oh, I mean, we've got Liverpool this weekend. I've not spoke to a single Man United fan that has got genuine hope for this weekend. Not one. Not a single fan has said to me, you know what? We could pull it off. Everyone's gone. Could be 3, could be 4, could be 5. And it's a problem, isn't it? It's the club at the minute. It's a massive, massive issue for us.
So look, I agree with pretty much all of that. Luckily for me, our match has been rescheduled from Saturday afternoon to Sunday afternoon, and it's a good hour and a half journey from where I live. The game is, so I could just miss the match.
Might have to watch the 5-0.
Yeah, and actually, for once, I'm kind of like okay about it because I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't think anybody's doing. You're absolutely right. Look, I share your sentiment. I really do, mate. Because although I've never, you know me, I've never flip flop over Ten Hag at all.
I'm flip flopping still.
I'm a players guy. For me, it's the players, and
yeah,
you know, people get on my back about it all the time. But the problem is, Dan, is on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, if I go and misplace a pass, that's my fault. It's got absolutely fuck all to do with my gaffer. You know, if I'm not in the right position, you know, to stop a cross, that's my fault. It's got nothing to do with the gaffer. And I keep trying to explain this to fans who want Ten Hag out. And it's, you know, you could do as much work during the week as you want. You can have meeting after meeting after meeting about players, about tactics, about setup, about everything, attitude, the way you wear your shorts. You know, I know that's a little bit stupid, but anything. And ultimately, it's you as a player, as an individual, as a man or woman that go out on that pitch, and you're responsible for your own performance. And that's what I think a lot of our fan base is missing, because okay. Yeah, good on you, John. I wish that was the case for me.
It's not the case for me either, Stu.
No, I wish it was the case. Oh, crikey. And so I talk about this a lot. I really do. I mean, we played last night, and I hit the bar from 4 yards out. That's my fault. It's got nothing to do with the gaffer. I'm the one who hit the bar from 4 yards out. And this is the problem with our fan base, is we're all split. And I think it's so divided, our fan base. I don't ever see us being able to actually come together. When you look at the history since Fergie and before Fergie, we've had some wonderful plays even before Sir Alex, when Ron Atkinson was there and Dave Sexton was there, Tommy Docherty was there. Great players before, great players during, and good players have come after it. But successful managers such as Jose Mourinho took Manchester United. It's a dream job. He only came to Chelsea so he could get to Manchester United. He had to have somewhere else before he could go to Manchester United, and he chose Chelsea. Yes, he then went to Madrid. We know about his career before Manchester United came calling. Louis van Gaal, top notch at Barcelona, top notch at Holland, comes to Manchester United, and the players just don't give a fuck. I don't think, and people could argue the toss with me until they're blue in the face, but it's true. You've got, look, I don't know the ins and outs of what's going through Bruno's mind at the moment, guys. I don't know whether he took a booking because he didn't want the fight on Sunday. Who knows? Nobody knows, do they? There's a lot of conspiracy theories around. I would hope that wasn't the case from our captain. And again, our captain, because I'm not seeing any leadership. Look, my lad goes to all the home games. He has my ticket. He goes to all the home games. He phoned me up Tuesday evening. He said, "All right, Dad." Yeah. He said, "Did you watch it?" I said, "Well, I watched Bayern, roll the dog over and tickle the belly." He says, "What do you mean, Dad?" I said, "They toyed with us, son. They didn't have to play football because we never made them play football. We didn't attack them with any purpose. We didn't offer them a conundrum." That Tuchel was scratching his head on the sideline thinking, Jesus Christ, I wasn't expecting that. We could have gone 3 at the back, put 2 wing backs in, put 2 up top or 1 up top. We could have done a variety of things to give us a chance of winning that game of football. And I saw players thinking, I don't want to finish third because I don't want to play European football. I'd rather have a week off in between. And maybe that'll work out good for us. Maybe it won't. Sorry, I'm ranting, guys. I don't. It's not frustration. Actually, it's the funny thing is, and here's the thing. And Dan, as you quite rightly said, pal, you weren't surprised against Bayern. Surprised against Bournemouth, I can see. But actually, when you look at Bournemouth's last results, were you really surprised?
No, not all.
That's what I mean. And this is where I call them casual fans, because I do believe they're casual fans. They're Fergie spoiled fans in many ways. And I know you come under that, Dan. I know you do, pal. You've told me yourself.
Yeah,
you do.
yeah. I'm not you.
Yeah, but you get football though as a whole. You see the full bubble. You don't just see the mini bubble, which is Sir Alex Ferguson. And yes, we're in this trajectory of where we are, but we've got to face hard facts right now. And the harsh reality is we're not going to attract a top quality manager anymore. And we're not going to get the top quality players anymore. We're shopping around as a mediocre mid-table team. And until something drastically happens and that somebody decides that they actually want to play for Manchester United, want to pull on that red shirt, cross that white line and really give everything, we don't have a butcher in there anymore. Martinez. Okay, we had it with Martinez, but he's not there. I would have played, Dan. I would and Baz, sorry mate, I would have played 3 at the back on Tuesday. I would have put Varane in the middle. I'd have put Maguire and I'd have put Shaw at left centre back, Reguilon and Dalot. Okay, then I would have put in there Amrabat and Mino because I think they'd have been ideal. I'd have dropped Bruno and I'd have put 2 up front. And I would have played that way, and I'd have given him an issue. Hoyland, I love Hoyland. I think he's a great player, but he was bullied by Upper Meccano. He didn't want to know, Upper
It was a
Meccano.
big. I thought that was a big lesson for him. Really
Huge
big lesson.
Huge lesson in football. Huge lesson, and he needs it. He needs that lesson. Kim, what a defender. We didn't go in hard enough for the kid, obviously. Obviously, couldn't be bothered.
46 million.
I know. Obviously, couldn't be bothered to get him. I didn't think Musiala played that well. A lot of people are saying he did. I didn't think he had anywhere near the influence that he did over in Germany. But Jake said he was fantastic off the ball. We said he was tremendous. A real sight to watch. And I would have just done something different. No, Ten Hag's issue is, and there's been a huge debate, hasn't there, in our group chat about Onana and De Gea again. Well, it's an easy debate to have now, isn't it? But if you notice, Dan, nobody's debating Maguire anymore.
No, I love it.
Yeah, nobody's
Absolutely
debating.
Love it.
Now they're going, oh shit, we've lost Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
6 months ago they weren't saying that. This is the problem with non-educated football fans, and I apologise, but I stand by my words. Non-educated footballers and fans don't understand what players can and cannot do, and don't understand the importance of what players can and cannot do. So this whole Onana De Gea debate, it's gone, it's done. Forget it. It's an irrelevance. What we need, and I'm sure Barry and you, Dan, will come in. What we need is a clear out. And what I would do is I would cancel the contracts of Martial. I will cancel the contracts hesitantly of Scott McTominay at the end of the season. I will cancel the contract of Varane if there's some conjecture, isn't there, whether he's
2024
apparently. Some said 2025. There's some kind of conjecture. I cancel the contract of Casemiro and I love Casemiro because you're going to be paying these players anyway. Either way, right, you've got to pay these footballers. So you may as well do something to get them out of the club and to get fresh blood in. And that's how we're going to have to operate. We're operating in bargain based.
Are we in a bit of a sort of a tricky patch here? Because, I mean, obviously, John at the moment is effectively the fourth person in this chat with the points that he's coming across with. And I just want to throw a couple of these up because he's agreed with you. He said he's at the point now he feels you have to dismantle the team. For him, he's realised that certain players like Bruno and Rashford, as well as many others, may have to go in another rebuild. And I feel like, to touch on some of the points that you guys have made, we've spoken about having different managers and they bring in their players. And this is half of the problem, isn't it? Is that we've had so many rebuilds because managers bring in the players that they want to have. We have a good season. The next season, they bring in more players and those players then sort of just give up the ghost, get the manager sacked, and then the new manager comes in and goes, well, I don't want half of these players. So we're just it's just like a constant groundhog season where every 2 years we need another rebuild. We've just got to get rid of this squad. It's just not good enough. And that feels like, is that the scouting department? Is that somebody else higher than the manager that's making these decisions to keep on bringing in players that the managers ultimately don't want? Like, what is it that's going on in this football club that is leaving us in a situation where we keep buying these players that, in some cases, just bang average and not performing? So that's my first point, is that. And then you get this. And I've been scratching my head about it for the last week, and I don't get it.
Stop four now, Barry. We can't get five.
No, we can still get it.
I thought Spain had got 4. I didn't think we could get it.
We're reliant on like Liverpool and Man City winning the competitions.
Okay. All right.
I think the coefficient points are only 1 behind. So I mean, personally, I prefer not to have the 5th space.
Anyway, I don't agree with 5 anyway.
But the point that John's making here, is there any point in finishing in a position where we can get into the Champions League when we've seen we're not good enough? And like you said about people say, I mean, I think Dan was one of those in the end who went, I just don't want to play Thursday football. He's not interested in it. And I don't know. I look at the fans sometimes in this one and just go, what are you playing at? Surely the purpose of any football fan is to want to see your team do well and get into these higher competitions. And I don't know. I just feel like maybe our fan base is very spoiled. And I mean, it was, the third years were amazing. But we've just got this mindset with our fans as well that it's either we win it all or we're just not good enough. And I think we're
I
just in
said
a situation now where we are just crap, and we've just got to live with that for the moment until that gets fixed. And therefore, even just the group stages of the Champions League, at least it gives you that little bit of hope. It's like England when they get to the World Cup. You know they're not going to win it, but it doesn't stop you getting swept away and thinking, well, we won it once in '66. I'm sure we can do it again.
I said Baz last year or the year before on the women's channel, and I got absolutely castigated for it. You know, I got raped in the comments. It was that bad because I turned around and said that if we qualify for the Champions League that season, it's too soon. And I stood by that. Oh, what are you on about? Blah 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 blah. I said we haven't got a squad big enough, strong enough to compete in the Champions League. We had a much better season last season. Got into the Champions League. We didn't have a squad big enough or strong enough to compete in the Champions League. That's the women's team. The men's team is no different. Now you could look and say we've now got the someone.
So I know you're going on, but let's say you're Aston Villa right now, they've not been in the top tables of Europe since like 1980. They're not going to be sitting there going, well, we're probably not good enough to be winning that next season. They just want to get there. So why is it that our fan base is different and we're like, actually, we're not fast. We might as well miss out a year and just try and rebuild again. Why not still be shit? I've done it. Oh my God, I've sworn on off
what you said.
2 years.
You kind of answered your own question. Then one other thing, since Dan will probably correct me on this, but since 1981, Peter With scored in the
that's right.
Yeah, so for them, they'll take anything. Newcastle at the moment, exactly the same. Oh, plucky Newcastle, blah blah blah. Oh, fuck off. They weren't plucky. They got beat. They're in a harder group than we were, but they still got beat. That's how it is. If you're Villa, you don't care. If you're us, it's expected. Now, should there be expectation in football? Not from a fan's point of view, but from a player's point of view, absolutely. You must expect, like when you go into any game, whether you're playing 5-a-side with your mates, 9-a-side, 11-a-side, 12-a-side, it doesn't matter. You expect to win that game. I always do. I expect to win it. And if we lose it, the inquest starts. And if you win it, you should still have an inquisition as to how you won the game. How did we win that game? And why didn't we win by more? And my theory is, and we must have these inquisitions, we must discuss these players, but they don't. There's just this want of not caring. And I mean, Dan will pick me up on this, and he'll carry on with it. This investment or lack of investment from the Glazers has hurt us. Really hurt us in the back end of our club. It's hurt us so much that we're in almost the abyss at the back end of our infrastructure of our club. The money that's come out of the club, instead of being invested in infrastructure, has hurt us so bad. And I don't see how we climb out. And don't anyone, right, be under any thought process of grandeur that old Sir Jim Ratcliffe is going to come and click his fingers and sort it out, because he's not. He just won't. It just won't happen unless somebody takes a massive drastic stand and writes off millions and millions and millions of pounds, cleans the slate and starts again. And if you do that, then prepare for 5 years in the abyss.
Listen, for me, it's really simple. It's not really simple. It's frustratingly simple. And I agree 100% on what Stu's saying. The Glazers have hurt us not just because of the infrastructure. It's because of, I tweeted earlier to a response to somebody who was talking about Potter coming in. What difference is Potter going to make? Potter, as a manager, went to clubs that were struggling and lowly, and he brought in players for minimal fees, and he made them better players because they didn't have egos, they didn't have footballing egos, they didn't have money, so he turned them into better players. He gave him a big job at Chelsea, chucked £1 billion at him, and look what happened. And this is what keeps happening at Manchester United. A manager will come in and say, oh, I fancy Caicedo, 4.6 million, go and get him. No, sorry, he won't sell enough shirts, I don't want him. We'll go and get Schneiderlin for 27 million instead. He had a good season at Southampton. He's a star. I can remember when we got linked with Mane from Southampton for like 17 million. Absolutely laughed about it. Everyone was laughing at us all, going for Mane's crap. goes to Liverpool, one of the best players of the last decade. And this is the issue. The Glazers are pushing, and the footballing people behind the club are pushing, oh, we need Ronaldo. We don't need Haaland. We need such and such. We don't need... And it's so frustrating. You need a full reset. And I think this is where my issue is coming with Ten Hag. Yeah, has he been ruthless since he came in? 100% he's been ruthless. He had the Ronaldo situation, the Greenwood situation, the Sancho situation. Has he been ruthless to the point of what we need for the club to change? Not even a little bit. Because 6 of the team that played the other night should be nowhere near the club. Like, I'm a huge fan of Maguire, but if you don't want Maguire in the summer, he should never have made it out of the summer. You basically should have sat Maguire down and said, not, oh, well, you've got to fight for your place. You could win it back. You are not in my plans. You're playing in the reserves if you don't leave. Your choice is leave or play in the reserves. We've seen, like, it's frustrating me because the David Beckham documentary thing came out, and you've seen just how harsh Fergie was. Tried to sell Beckham to Barcelona after a minute argument, and then ended up going Real Madrid. Yapstam was out on his arse, even though they had a meeting and everything seemed okay. Off you pop to Lazio. And it was absolutely ruthless.
Paul Ince was done the same.
Yeah, Paul Ince was another one. Roy Keane.
What changed them? Why couldn't Ten Hag do that then? Why was Ten Hag, and this is just just a devil's advocate.
Yeah.
How was it that Harry Maguire then is able to stand there in front of Ten Hag and go, and if that is the case, I don't want to go to West Ham. I want to stay here and fight for my place. I'd much rather be at United, getting paid what I'm getting paid, than being there. How is he able to say that? Does that point to Ten Hag having sat there and not, like you say, not being ruthless enough and just going, well, you've got the choice? And
well, it's because he hasn't got the backing.
He has.
He's not got the backing to do that. The Glazers are saying we want 50 million for Maguire. If Ten Hag says you sell him for 10, get him out of the club, do you think we could not have got 20 million more for Yapstam, 30 million more for David Beckham, 20 million more for Ronaldo?
We got 8 for Paul Ince, didn't we?
Yeah, it's about being ruthless and saying, you know what, it might cost the club 10 million, 20 million in transfer fees. Just get him gone. And this is my issue with Ten Hag now. And this is ultimately why I'm starting to turn. And I'll be honest, I'll get the Liverpool game's a free shot. I don't expect anything from it. I don't think any Man United fan expects anything from it. If we can go there and not lose 7-0, it's better than last season. But that West Ham lineup, if that West Ham lineup has got the same players in that we've seen in the last 5-6 weeks, that's when I'm going to really start to turn. Because the only way Ten Hag gets past this is if he is ruthless enough to say, do you know what, Fernandez? It's not working. It's not working in this team. There's too much of a gap in midfield. I've got to start Mino and Amrabat and go for 2 up front. I've got to do something different. Do you know what, Luke Shaw? You've come back in and you've made a mistake every game and let us cost us a goal. I'm gonna get Fernandez back from off loan and play him, and I'm gonna play players for the future. I'm gonna give Dangle some game time. We're gonna finish 8th, but we build him for next season. There's an end to what he's doing, and if he does that, if he goes to the United fans and he says, do you know what? There's going to be an end to what the plan is. We're going to give Ahmad time. We're going to give Hannibal time, Gore time, Kobe Minu time. He can finish 6th, 7th, 8th. I don't care. As long as it's what he wants and the manager gets the full backing. But if he's not got the stones to say, do you know what? Martial, your contract's done in the summer. You are not getting any more minutes for Manchester United. I'm going to go into the youth team and I'm going to give a striker a chance that's never played football before, like Rashford got, like the endless youth products have got. You're going to play minutes. And do you know what? If we go and lose 2-1 to West Ham, but he starts all these kids, I don't care. Because at least that is actually building for the future and it's a step in the right direction. Because what we're seeing now is, I know you say that we have had these transfers in the past, Barry, but what's happening is it's like a mini squad rotation. 3 or 4 players come in that will suit the manager's style, but then it goes a bit wrong, so we sack a manager. Was it De Gea was Fergie's signing, and he was still at the club last year, which is madness. So, and then it's the same with a lot of players.
It's not really when you consider what a great goalkeeper he was.
No, what I mean by madness.
Says the argument's not over, but Andre Onana is one of the worst goalkeepers I've seen for Manchester United.
Well, the argument should be, Barry, for me, and this is exactly what I mean. So against West Ham, in my opinion, on honest form, I would put him in against Liverpool because none of the players that are coming in deserve to get beat at Anfield 5-0. That I want him to bring him. So you protect them a little bit. Bayern starts against West Ham because there's got to be punishment for your form. You've cost us a Champions League space. I know he's played well in the Premier League, but it's cost us a Champions League spot pretty much on his own. It's a team effort, but he's made a lot of mistakes. But there's got to start to be consequences. Aaron Wan-Bissaka has made a mistake for pretty much every time I've seen him in the last few weeks. He was too deep for Bayern's goal with two other defenders, by the way. And it's just, it seems to me that some of these players are literally looking at squad and thinking, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'll get another chance. Like, I know Donny's going to go out on loan and stuff like that, but surely Ten Hag's at the point where just chuck him in. He can't do any worse than what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Give him 5. Say to him, you've got 5 games to prove your future to Manchester United before January. I'm going to chuck you in. You've got 5 games. I don't give a shit if you're not training well. I don't care. I'm going to chuck you in. He might score. Thingy. Scott McTominay. Like, to be fair, John Commode's spot on about Scott McTominay. He's very good at playing forward, but you can't keep playing him in that position and leaving our midfield open. You've got to, if you're going to, you drop Fernandes because McTominay's scoring and you play Amrabat and Kobe Minu. You've got to do something different. It's getting frustrating. I'll give him till the West Ham game. And if there isn't enough different direction or we don't see something different, I'm going to start to struggle because that means to me that he's just going to get shafted again in the summer.
But are we not already, Stu, at this point with Ten Hag? Because there's just an inconsistency at the moment. Like with what Dan's saying here at the moment about how Ten Hag hasn't been ruthless enough. You take the Jadon Sancho situation. He's not happy with Sancho's training, so he calls him out in front of the world. Sancho fights back. We've not seen Jadon Sancho since then. Now, obviously, we're not privy to everything that's going on behind closed doors. So we're very much going by, what the sort of the feelers are and the rumour mill and all that sort of thing. But he's had that conversation with Sancho and he's taken a really hard line. Why then is it so difficult, do you think, for him to have this same sort of hard line with the likes of Fernandes if people feel that he's not performing? What is going on here with Ten Hag? Why is he so ruthless and so on it with some things, like the running after the Burnley defeat last season when he took them all around the pitch and they did a 15-kilometre run all together, whatever it was. We were all in it together at that point. It now just feels again like we're getting the little clicks, all those sorts of things. And I don't get it. I don't get how he can be so on it with some things and so lax on others. What's going on?
I think he's in a situation where whatever he says is going to come into this little brick wall by babies. So as soon as you walk into that dressing room at Carrington, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, having the breakfast, out on the pitch at 10, please, lads. They're babies. They're little children. They're going out with fucking hats on and gloves and all this kind of nonsense. It's pathetic. And that's the mindset of a man. The mindset of a man is, I'm cold. Oh, tough. You're out there training, learning, playing. All right, you want to go out with gloves on, you want to go out with a hat on, fine. That's up to you. But it's pathetic. It doesn't work for me. I look at that person and think, nah, I don't want you by me. I don't want you anywhere near my team because I want somebody who's willing to, drop himself in a cold bath and play football. So there's little things like this. The agents, they're in, the agents are there scratching and crying to the directors. The directors are bowing down to agents. Player power is way, way, way too big right now. Way, way, way too big. And it's a huge problem. You don't see it at Manchester City because Guardiola won't allow it. You don't see it at Arsenal because Arteta won't allow it. You don't see it at Liverpool because Klopp won't allow it. You don't see it at Everton. Deitch won't allow it. You don't see it at Burnley, because Company, he won't allow it. Now I'm talking winners. Those managers are born winners. And the players respect the manager. The manager should be the highest paid football guy in the club. But they're not now because you've got that little baby Sancho at 375 grand a week. You got Rashford, 375 grand a week. You start earning money north of 150 grand a week, and we're just normal people, by the way, you're going to switch off because you're going to do your calculations, you're going to do your math, and you're going to think 5 years, if I've used my money correctly, I'm fine. I can retire. I can just go down the Championship. I don't really care. I've said this time and time and time again. Okay, they want this fame. They want this fortune. They want people to adore them. They want adulation. They want this. They want that. But they cannot be asked to put the work in. There are players out there that Manchester United fans would go, what the hell are you talking about? The likes of Max Kilman will come and die for the shirt. I don't know if he's a Scouser or whatever, but he'll come and die for the shirt. I mentioned Conor Cody 2 years ago. Oh, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. He'd die for the club. I know he's a Scouser, but he'd still die for the club. Eze at Crystal Palace. What do we want him for? Die for the club. Saka at Arsenal. Die for the club. Erdegaard. Die for the club. There are so many players that are playing for clubs. Look at Bournemouth. Bournemouth are a group of hard-working footballers who know what it means and appreciates what it means to play football. And they're thinking to themselves on the way up to Old Trafford, let's go to Manchester United and turn them over in their own backyard, because that's how I think. I think when we go to Tewkesbury on Sunday, we are now, that I want to go and beat them in our own backyard. Wave to their supporters as we walk off. Unlucky guys, take the piss, have a bit of banter. That's what Bournemouth did. Bournemouth came to Old Trafford and thought, right. Bayern came to Old Trafford, not really caring. They didn't really care whether they won or not. Didn't give a damn. And they got that bored. They decided to score a goal.
They was in a training game. They basically, they was in a the way they was passing, the way they was moving.
That goal, by the way, pathetic again. And this is my point. We were sold a goalkeeper that doesn't stay on his line. That was no different to David De Gea last season. That player gets himself through. It's obvious that he's going to be playing that ball to come through one-on-one. And Anana doesn't move, stays still. And then when the geezer gets his foot to the ball, just to shift it, he thinks he's going to shoot with the outside of his foot and goes to dive. At which point, the forward goes, well, my God, thank you very much. And the ball just goes. I mean, it is atrocious at the moment. And Stu talks about player power, Dan. But isn't this the problem that we're in now? Because they do have that power, because they know full well that if they don't perform, we drop down the table. And as soon as we drop down the table, the money men turn around and go, hang on a minute, this is going to affect our money. We can't have this anymore. And then before you know it, we have to sack the manager and get a new one in, because they know that's going to lead to an uptick in performance initially. At what point does this cycle stop? How do we stop this cycle of just constantly recycling manager after manager, throw them to the wolves, people that come in with great reputations? Let's look at who we've had again. David Moyes was the next big thing. Came in, kicked out after a year. Louis van Gaal, one of the greatest managers ever known to football, thrown to the wolves. Jose Mourinho, he of the Porto fame, running down the touchline, giving it to Sir Alex Ferguson, winning it with Chelsea, thrown to the wolves. Don't get me wrong, their football was dross and I didn't like it, but they're winners. They're good managers. We know this. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I will grant you, doesn't necessarily hold the record for one of the greatest managers that's ever lived, but he was a legend, loved by the club, thrown to the wolves. Even Rangnick, to a degree, came in with a degree of fanfare, 6 months of straight talking or whatever you want to call it, and again, some pretty poor results, and he's gone. Here we are with Erik ten Hag. The one person who I think was across the fan base wanted. Like, that was the one everyone was going for. This is it. This is the man. This is the one. This is the person that's going to come in and change our fortunes. And the same thing is happening. Are we in a situation where really, until we sort out the top of this football club, and I mean the very top, to get people that understand football, whether that be Jim Ratcliffe and him taking a controlling interest in the football side of things and allowing football people to make these decisions and stop doing stupid things like you just said, well, this person sells too many shirts, we can't get rid of them, and putting the commercial interests in front of the football. If we don't do that, this is just going to be our life for the next God knows how long, isn't it? We're not going to be Manchester United as we know anymore. We're always going to be Manchester divided, because you're always going to have... We've held off on this channel having the Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out chat, because it's just, at this point, it seems irrelevant. it's like it doesn't matter, because whoever you get in 2 years' time, we're going to be sat here going, well, he was a good manager for a while, wasn't he? But now he's gone again. It doesn't matter who you get in. I think you could bring Unai Emery into this team. I still think that next year his reputation would be solid. Look at what he's doing with Villa. Look at what he's done everywhere he's been. But what's the answer, Dan? How do we get past this player power where they just know that if they're not performing, doesn't matter. The manager gets the sack, not them. Like Stu talks about the money. I think the money's one thing, but this is the other. Their jobs are never in danger. The footballers' jobs are never in danger. It's always the manager. They take the can for absolutely everything. Every time.
It's frustrating for me because you don't even if you went and stood at Old Trafford now, you haven't even got to look very far, have you? You see Liverpool not far away, you see Man City not far away, you see exactly what they do. I'll go to Liverpool because for me they've been the best run club for the last decade to 12 years. If Man City wouldn't have cheated for the last decade, Liverpool would have dominated pretty much everything because they've got everything right on the pitch and they've got pretty much everything right off the pitch. And even on the odd times they've got stuff wrong on the pitch, like Carvalho from Fulham, instantly shipped out on loan because Klopp didn't want him there anymore. He was a problem, go out on loan. There's now talk that he's not getting enough game time on loan, so Liverpool and I are in dialogue to get him off the loan to send him somewhere else, because it's a well-run club. Sadio Mane went in and said, I want to be one of the highest paid players at Liverpool. And Liverpool said, we can afford to pay Salah this or you this. Our choice is, what do we do? Right, we're going to pay Salah that. You're going to be sold to Bayern Munich. Done. Finished. And we're talking about a player that was very, very good for Liverpool for 7 years. And it was, I wouldn't say an easy decision, but it was a decision that was made with ease. They knew the wage structure is this. We're not going to break that wage structure because the player's telling us to break that wage structure. It's Mo Salah's the top earner. Van Dijk's up there with him. That's it. And then you start to drop down in wages, go down. You compare Alisson's wage to Onana's, it's not that far apart. Absolute madness. Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the world by an absolute mile. And he's on near enough the same as Onana. And that's because Liverpool have taken a hard line of, if you want to play for Liverpool, you can earn this much money. If you want to earn over that much money, you don't play for Liverpool Football Club. You go and play somewhere else. And that's that. That's the end of it. And this is what I mean by the rebuild is not, it's not a magic. Simon mentioned something. I like Simon. He comes in the channel quite a lot before. He mentioned that he can see us being back up there in 4 years. Not if we carry on doing what we're doing now. It's not going to happen. We'll in another half a decade be saying the same thing. If only we got rid of this new player that's come up. Garnacho's the next problem for me, because how fast do you put him on 250 grand a week? Because his agent's putting pressure on the club, and we're worried about losing him.
That's it.
If he comes to the club and he says I want 250 a week after 2 years of his contract, sell him. Sell him. Sell him to Real Madrid and bring somebody else in. There's got to be a line in the sand. And someone put a question out on Twitter saying, Saudi club offers 180 million for Rashford. Do you take it? Yeah, immediately.
Yeah.
Can I just say that sounds like the biggest load of rubbish that I've ever read in my life. The idea that he's become the world's most expensive player. And this is Marcus Rashford we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not Neymar Jr. I mean, I've got all the love in the world for Marcus Rashford, but Stu, can you see any way in which he becomes a £180 million player?
Well, you take it.
You take it all day
Of course
long.
I would take it.
Yeah. It's like, really, if you pay 50 million quid for him, you're off your tree at the minute, the way that he's performing. And that's the problem, you see. If Saudi Arabia want to come in and offer stupid money for Rashford, send him. Send Casemiro. Send Eriksen. Send Donny van der Beek. Just send these and get the money in. Everyone else can sell to Saudi Arabia for 50, 60, 70 million. Look what's happening out there. Mitrovic. We could have gone in for Mitrovic. I know the Saudi Arabia League's a bit weak, but he's on 16 goals already, the bloke.
I didn't know he was only like 27 as well. I thought he was a lot older for some reason.
No, he's only about 27 years old. Ivan Toney, people are, but we can't shop in the Ivan Toney window at 100 million. We've got to shop at this Jesse player from Stuttgart for 20 million. Is it Jesse?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, for 20 million. Yes, he's a good striker and he's popping the goals in. He very mediocre rise to fame. If I'm being honest, he was poor at most of his clubs he's been to, except now he's come along. So we've decided we'll go and pay 20 million quid for him, or we'll try and get Timo Werner on loan. God, for love of God, it's not going to work. We need Premiership experience. That's what we need. We should have got Højlund and we should have bought Kane. We should have done the deal. Yes, we know Spurs would never have sold Harry Kane to us, but we should have pushed and pushed and pushed. Levy would have rolled over eventually. We would have found a number where Levy would have rolled over because Harry Kane would have gone, you better sell me. You better sell me.
Harry Kane surely would have gone, I want the Premier League record. They've matched the Bayern Munich bid. I've been loyal to you for a decade. Yeah. I want this move. It's got to.
Yeah, I don't believe he would have done. I don't believe.
There's got to be a point where that
Harry Kane would have looked at that and said, "I'm coming to Man United." I don't see any top player looking at the way our club is run at the moment and how it's going, and really wanting to choose Man United.
He would have in the summer.
Yeah,
because we were.
Can I just say as well?
Yeah, maybe. Right. Yeah.
Only in the summer, though, Baz. Not now. Not now, mate.
Yeah, I think top players do look at Man United and think, I want to go to that club, because they're going to get from 200 grand a week to 400 grand a week instead of going to Liverpool and only getting 200 grand a week. Some players are absolute mercenaries. Like, I love Fernandes because Fernandes came on a minimal contract. He agreed a minimal, like 50 grand a week.
50,
and then he earned his bump, and then he continued doing it and earned a bit more. Do you know what I mean? And this is the frustrating thing for me. It's just there's so much wrong with the club in the background. Nobody can do anything. And this is my frustration. Like, I was annoyed that I turned on Ten Hag the other day, because other than dropping all these players out completely and picking youth, what can he do? And let's be honest, are the Glazers going to let him field 6 youngsters when you've got Fernandes, Rashford, whoever missing out? Of course they're not. Yeah, they'd sack him at the first opportunity.
So then, Stu, based on what he's just said there, just to forward that on a little bit, if Erik ten Hag's not going to be allowed to do that, and we feel like we're just going to be stuck in this cycle ad infinitum until we finally get a new board that actually cares about football and not just about money, does that mean that we as fans have got to change? Have we got to be more not accepting of mediocrity, because that's not the right idea, but do we need to be more, do you know what, we're not this powerhouse at the moment. We're not going to be that powerhouse until something changes, which then throws back to my model of, just getting to the Champions League is actually a victory. No, we might not go on and win it. No, we might not get there, but actually that's something to look forward to. Have we hit that level at Manchester United?
Oh, yeah.
Almost hit it's the taking part that counts, rather than we're going to go and win everything, and maybe we'll pick up an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup here and there.
So we have, because all right, let's look at what we should be doing right now as a club. Okay, right now as a club, January time, you should be knocking on Fulham's door and saying, "What's Palhinha worth? Is he? Can we have him in the summer? We should be, trying to get Kilman out of Wolves." We should be trying to do what we can to get this talent. Evan Ferguson, we should be trying, right? Let's
Braithwaite from Everton.
Braithwaite from Everton. These types of players, this is what we're looking at. This is what we're interested in. And this is what we're doing, because that's how a good club is run. We are a mediocre club at the moment because our guys haven't got the brains or the fortitude or the common sense to even attempt, to do that. Palhinha is the one we all know will make a huge difference to us. Everybody with a brain and eyes knows Palhinha would make a huge difference to us. We can't afford Ollie Watkins. We can't afford Ivan Toney. Would Ivan Toney want to come to us? If I was Ivan Toney, I would. Because Dan's absolutely right, by the way, Baz, and he's 100% right. And it isn't just about the money, Dan. It's about, do you know what? I've got the absolute balls to go into Manchester United and turn that fucking club around. I'm the one that's going to do it. And I'm the one that's going to put the standards up here. Because Roy Keane didn't need to do that at Old Trafford. He was already there. Steve Bruce, it was already there. Steve Bruce was there. Gary Pallister was there. Dennis Irwin, Schmeichel, already there. The standards were so high. The standards at the moment are below average at best. So somebody needs to have the nuts, and I think Toney could do it. Ollie Watkins could probably do it. Max Kilman's still a bit young yet, but he's a great player. By the way, coached on field by Connor Cody. Connor Cody coached him through matches. Look at where he is now. Brilliant captain. Absolutely brilliant captain. Anana, John's right. Anana from Everton. You know, these are types of players. We should have been in for Maddison. He should never have gone to Tottenham. James Maddison, never gone to Tottenham in a million years. I don't know why Liverpool didn't even go for him. Arsenal didn't go for him. We should never have gone to Tottenham in a million years. But this is what's happening with these players. And the top 6, top 8, top 10 is getting stretched. And it's getting stretched very, very thin. And what you're going to see come January is Newcastle and get on the phone to Saudi Arabia and say, right, we'll have him, and him. Get them on loan. They're all coming on loan because they can do that. He has been tarnished, John. I don't disagree with that at all. He has. He's paid the penalty or will pay the penalty. That's up to him to sort that out. But that's what's going to be happening with Newcastle. They're going to get Neves in on loan. They're going to get X, Y, and Z in on loan. We all know this because of their Saudi Arabian links. We're so far behind everybody else. Even Aston Villa are a better run club than we are. They've got a, we were linked with John McGinn 2 years ago. The fan base went, oh, we can't have John McGinn, blah, 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 blah. He's been a constant performer in the Premier League. Constant performer. Okay, it's just, when you look at the way that we are, when you look at, you raise players' names and they're not interested, the fans, because it isn't a go-to name. And it's pathetic because football isn't about go-to names. Look at Neymar Jr. Who the fuck would want him in their team at the minute? Who'd want Mbappe in their team because of the baggage that comes with it? Lionel Messi isn't pulling any trees up at the minute, is he, Dan, into Miami? Aren't they second from bottom in their league or something?
Can't hear a word you're saying, fella.
Can't hear a word, Dan.
I muted myself, don't I?
Yeah,
he's done all right.
But aren't they second from bottom?
Yeah, they're not doing very well in the league now. No.
No, so what does Messi do? All of these. Oh, you got to do this, got to do that. Get a player who wants to play football first and foremost. You get that player.
I wanted to throw a quick hypothetical at you both because I want to try and prove my point. So you're a massive fan of Paulinho. You agree a £50 million deal with Paulinho, and his agent comes to the club and says $375k a week, or I'm not coming. What do you do?
I turn him away. I turn him away. It's just pointless. It's just pointless.
And this is my point. This is my point, Barry. So what the club would do is we'll pay you we'll give 350. We take 350, not 375. And this is where we need to get absolutely ruthless. We need to go and agree a deal or find out about a player. We will pay you 150. If you take us to a Premier League title,
different story.
We'll talk about your contract. We'll talk about your wages. You take us to a Champions League final. Come and knock on my door afterwards, and then we'll talk about your wages. We'll talk about your thing. Not agree to massive sums. Marcus Rashford has won a League Cup, an FA Cup?
Yes, I think
and a Europa League.
Yeah.
So
he did.
Yeah, so he's won like 3 trophies, and he's on 375k a week. That is more than Mo Salah at Liverpool. He's won a Champions League, the Premier League, and has been one of the best players in the Premier League for a decade. It is absolute madness what we're seeing. And this is where we need to be so much more ruthless as a football team. I saw, you might remember it, but Mourinho was talking about heritage. And this is where I agree with Barry. We are not the club we were a decade ago. It's fact. This is why I'm saying I would be happier as a fan to see the likes of Dangor on a football pitch, learning how the Premier League works and us finishing 8th, than continually seeing Scott McTominay, who, by all accounts, Ten Hag wants gone and will probably want gone in the summer. I would prefer Maguire doesn't start and we're playing a youngster that we're going to give minutes to that's got a future at the club.
I feel you can go too far the other way with that. If we just stick out a team of youth, the reason Fergie's way of going for it worked. You're very rarely, once in a blue moon, don't mean to give the City reference there, sorry, but once every in a while,
Swore twice, Barry.
I know, right? It's unreal. God, blimey. But it's incredibly rare that you get a team of youngsters like we had with the class of 92.
No, I'm not expecting this team of youngsters to do anything.
I know, and I'm not saying they would be, but the reason why it then from there ended up being not just the class of 92, but Fergie's fledglings, and we carried on with this youth, is that we put them out at the right time. We're not just sticking 5 or 6 youth out and getting them to do it. If you do that, you said, let's not put Anana in goal for the game against Liverpool because they're just going to get battered.
No, I'm saying put Anana in goal.
No, sorry, to not put Bayindir in goal instead of Anana because he's going to get battered. Well, at the moment, the way we are in this Premier League, if we just sit the youngsters out fully, then effectively, same thing's going to happen. They're just going to get battered because that's what the Premier League does. They need to be introduced, not necessarily slowly, but there needs to be more of a plan as to how and when they come in.
I think that comes down to
professional. I'm more than happy to stick a defender, a midfielder, and a striker up, but I stick it like 10 or 11 youngsters out. Surely that would go.
That comes down to the professional. If you say to Hannibal, this shirt's yours for the next 5 games, show me something. And you're also then saying to whoever Hannibal replaces, you know what, you're not wanted at the club anymore. Go to your agent and find your next move because we don't want you at Old Trafford anymore. So, I massively rate Maguire, but if you want Maguire gone that much, irrelevant to whether he stayed in the summer or what, you replace him in the lineup and he doesn't get back in that lineup because you need to make him aware you are not one. If Stam would have stayed after the argument with Ferguson, I know Ferguson admits it was a mistake, he wouldn't have got any game time. He'd have been completely left out until he's gone.
But that's the thing you see, Dan. You see, he has an argument with Fergie, gets in the car, phones his agent, and his agent's, where are you? I'm going home, blah, blah. Yeah, you've been sold.
Yeah, go on.
Hey, what do you mean? Yeah, you've been sold. That's it. And that was it. That's how you do it. And that's exactly what we should have done in the summer. Harry, we sold you to, we've accepted a bid, and you're going.
Yeah, we've taken 15 million less than we wanted to, but you're not part of this club anymore.
You're going.
Off you go. I'm really sorry.
We sold you.
None of this umming or ahhing. Maguire, because Maguire's been on the telly and said, Ten Hag said, I don't have to go. I can stay and fight if I want to. If Ten Hag didn't want him, he should have said,
you're
go.
Gone. Yeah.
So then my point to this is did Ten Hag actually then want him? This is my point. If he really didn't want him, surely he'd be gone because he's shown he can do it. If he's not playing
I think this is where the club are tying his hands. So the Sancho incident's interesting to me. Sancho would still be training with the team if he didn't say anything in public. So the only reason he's been scolded is because he said something in public and he hasn't apologized. So if he was showing a low standard in training, he still would be training. So I always go back to training. Training's so important, in my opinion. Liverpool will train against each other like they're playing for the Premier League. You imagine training with some of them players every single day. The standard's not going to get better because the squad's not good enough. And when I say the squad's not good enough, this is where the argument comes in. Because then if you say to somebody, would you sell Rashford? They go, no. Would you sell Fernandes? No. Would you sell Shaw? No. Well, then you're never going to fix the problem because there's got to be a point you go, actually, we need there needs to be a change. Irrelevant to whether I'll do this, world-class players. You've got to get rid because it's not working.
Oh, no, Luke Shaw, apparently.
Oh, I love Tone.
No. And look, Dan, Dan's right. 90% of our squad needs moving out. Simple as that. It just needs to go. And like I say, if we've got to spend the next 5 years bringing you through, look at Arsenal, right? Emile Smith Rowe can't even get in the side. I know he's had injury problems, but he's a wonderfully talented footballer. Can't get in the side. Phil Foden, always in and out at City. Calvin Phillips, right? Now, look, I'm not saying we go for Calvin Phillips, but I just want to remind everybody of something. Pep Guardiola, I feel sorry for Calvin. He's in the press conference. 10 minutes before, Calvin, I'm selling you, and this is what I'm telling the people in the press. If you don't like it, tough. You haven't heard a thing off Calvin Phillips because he knew what was happening. He knew what was coming. I feel so sorry for him, and all this Guardiola shit. You're gone. Find a new club in January. That's what they've told him. That's how it works.
Well, look at is it
football club.
Nunes, Stu?
Yeah,
that went in.
Yeah,
he literally said in a press conference, "Oh, he's not as good as I thought he was."
his passing's not where I need it to be.
Yeah,
exactly.
So he's not starting games.
So he's not starting games, and I've told him. What he told him. This is what I'm going to say. If you're going to start crying to your agent, you're not at the right club, And then he's exactly right. And Guardiola, he does this, but he tells people. So you haven't heard a peep out of Calvin Phillips because he knew what was happening. He hasn't come out and said, "Oh my God, Guardiola's called me this or Guardiola's done this." He's got on with it. He's shut his mouth. His agent now should be whether or not we should be going in for him, a whole new debate, a whole completely different debate. Okay, I don't know where I am with Calvin Phillips at the minute, but he knows categorically you're not going to kick a ball for me again, and I'm not going to pay your wages. So there you go. So they
literally gave him a farewell penalty as well.
Yeah, they did. They give him a farewell penalty. You're gone, and that's how it is. Now we should have been going to Martial, as Dan quietly says. You're not having a contract. You're not going to kick a ball. I ain't paying your wages. Get yourself out of the club in January.
You either leave now in summer or January, or you just you do what Sancho's doing. You come into the reserves. You're not part of the squad. We're not going to sign you on, so you might as well just leave. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants it to work out for Martial, but it's gone. The horse is bolted. It's not going to work. It's gone.
That horse is bolted.
The thing is, we're saying this. We're saying that we might need to go and put trust in the youth. The God's honest truth is that's not going to happen, is it? We can sit here and talk about this as the nirvana that we're going to need to go to and that we want to go to. But as you just said, if he's not going to let Harry off the board, people above are not going to allow Harry Maguire to be sold for peanuts or whatever it is they're going for.
40 million wasn't peanuts.
Is there any way they're going to sit there and allow Erik Ten Hag to effectively push the self-destruct button? Because for Ten Hag to do that, I think it's going to take someone who knows that he's going to be out of a job soon and doesn't really care too much about it, but cares more about the club maybe than themselves.
Well, you've got Jesse Lingard, who hasn't had a club since he was released from Forest, but he earned that much money in his career. I think he's 10, 15 million quid in his career. He's kind of like, oh, well, I might go to Saudi Arabia, or I might do this, or I might do that. He doesn't have to do anything. This is, again, another issue. Martial could just, quit. Yeah. You're done. Just go. Just go in January. You're gone. If we don't want Rafael Varane, go. Just go. If you don't want him, just go. What are you doing with Lindelof? What are you doing with Maguire? What are you doing with Dalot? Dalot has been one of the worst and shoddiest recruits we've done in years. Donny van der Beek, you're absolutely right, Dan. Fucking hell, stick him in at right back, for God's sake. Just do something with him. Donny van der Beek must be thinking, well, I know what he's thinking. He's thought, well, I'm not getting a look in, so I'm just going to take my money. And, that's fair enough. But we're allowing him to do it.
Yeah, I still maintain Donny in particular. It's a strange stance. It's like
ridiculous.
It's like Tone's Luke Shaw stance. He's too intelligent to play with some of these footballers. They're not on his ability in his head to be able to play with him because they can't play the pass to him that he wants, or they can't spot the run that he wants, and that's half the issue.
No, it is. NT, sorry, you are right, mate. And we agree with you. We spoke about that earlier on in the show.
Ultimately as well.
Yeah.
To what Barry was saying, that's why in 3 weeks' time, Barry, we're going to be all sat here talking about how Ten Hag's been sacked and Graham Potter's coming in, because the club won't allow him to do it, and he probably knows they won't allow him to do it. I would imagine that Ten Hag was made some promises before he came into this club that haven't been followed through, just like Solskjaer, just like Mourinho.
Ten Hag would have gone in. Ten Hag would have gone in his interview, done his PowerPoint presentation, however it was done, and he said, this lot, get them out before this is what I would have done. This lot here, I want them out the door before I walk through in May the 1st. I'm not going to have a holiday. I'm going to come and start May the 1st. That lot have got to be, by the time I come back for pre-season training, that lot's gone. This lot here, who I want in to replace that. Yep, okay, no problem, blah, 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 and all this kind of nonsense. And then what happens? Nothing. Because that's what would have happened. I guarantee you, because we're not football managers, but that's what we would have done. He did his due diligence. He's been auditioning for Manchester United, since the summer the year before. He was telling everybody, I knew everything there is to know about Manchester United. I knew the problems and the job I was going to have. Get rid of these and bring me these. We didn't. We know the types of players that he wanted and have gone on to have good careers with these clubs. Irrespective of Erling Haaland, we know Solskjaer wanted it. But all these players that have gone to other clubs, we were interested in it. We could have got them at an absolute steal, and we elected not to. We couldn't be bothered because he doesn't sell shirts, as you quite rightly said. And that's all the Glazers are interested in, is money in their pocket. So Jim Ratcliffe, he comes around and holds football operations, fair enough, but it's going to take him a long time to get anywhere near where we need to be. And
No, I think that's the realization of accepting we're not where we are.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating to me. Ten Hag's not going to get the time, is he? Let's be honest. No. It's not going to happen.
I watched there's a little video. It was one of those little animated ones that goes on, and it's got Erik ten Hag putting the players to a lie detector, asking them if they're the people that are doing the leaks that Erik ten Hag has lost the dressing room at Manchester United. And he goes through all of the players, goes about 4 or 5 of them, goes through Bruno, goes through Harry, Marcus, a lot of them. And Harry Maguire says he thinks he knows who it might be, and he puts the lie detector on Erik ten Hag and says, "Is it you putting the leaks out?" And he says, no, it wasn't me. And it turns out that he's the one that was lying. And basically, he just runs out the door going, yes, it was me. I want out of this place. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's toxic. I can't believe I wanted to come here. And it's the worst place in the world. I want to go back to Ajax. I loved it there and they loved me. When you look at Erik ten Hag on the touchline against Bournemouth, 3-0 down, he looked lost. He looked like a man who was looking out on a sinking ship and just going, there's nothing I can do with this lot. Like, they are beyond help. Where do we feel about Ten Hag? Not Ten Hag in, Ten Hag out. You said there, Dan, he's not going to get the time. This is a class manager. We know that he's good. We know that he has that ability. Is Ten Hag effectively trying to punch up? Is he just not good enough? Or is he just not going to be? Is he fighting with one hand tied behind his back, effectively? What is it for Ten Hag? And are we just in a situation, as we say, where again we are just going to end up with a new manager, and we're just going to have to rinse and repeat? We're going to get another great year. We'll probably sneak top 4, make it into next year, have a whole season that's reasonable. We'll even make the quarterfinals of the Champions League because everybody's on a high, and then the next season, struggling to get in the top 4 again. What is it going to be for Ten Hag? Because I do feel for him, but by the same token, is some of this his own making because he just hasn't come in and just been strong because he's under a contract. Worst thing that can happen is that he gets sacked.
Yeah, it's a frustrating one for me. I don't like this opinion that he's not a good enough manager. It's absolute nonsense. He's definitely a good enough manager. He's proven that he's a good enough manager. There is just too much going off at that football team for anybody to be really successful. He's made mistakes, and this is how you're a bad run club as well. Because when he's gone to the board and he said, I want Anthony, and they've gone, well, we're unsure on the £44 million price tag. Yeah, but I want Anthony. That's my top target getting me. Well, we're now going to pay 86. Somebody at that club should have gone, absolutely fucking not. We are not paying 86 million for Anthony. You go and get somebody else. We're going to look absolutely laughable if we do this. Now, people say the Maguire one was too expensive, but City was ready to spend 76. Nobody else wanted Anthony. Nobody. And we could have had Cody Gakpo instead, and Liverpool got an absolute bargain for him. And I hate to keep going back to Liverpool, but look at Liverpool. They went to Caicedo. No, I'm going Chelsea.
Money. That was money.
Yeah, so they went and got Szoboszlai.
Yeah.
He's been one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. Yeah. Because they've got a scouting department and they've got a well-run club. Because we missed out on a top target, but we still got 4 more to go and look at.
They got Gravenbach.
Yeah, Gravenbach on loan.
Yeah.
McAllister. And it was literally just...
brilliant recruitment.
We needed 3 midfielders. We've got 3 midfielders. And it was sorted so quickly. And I fear for Ten Hag because this is tainting so many managers. And you've seen that some of them don't recover from it. coming to Old Trafford and not doing very well. They just do not recover. Mourinho's not fully recovered. He's at Roma now. Moyes has done well, but it's not. West Ham's not a top tier football team.
Yeah, but that was dodgy for Moyes. It took him 5 years to recover from Manchester United.
Yeah.
He died everywhere he went.
Hey,
It's a
so
poison
here's a
chalice.
question for you both then. So Pep Guardiola,
He couldn't.
shock movement, leaves Manchester
No,
City.
he couldn't do
He
anything.
just goes,
Right.
That's
Couldn't
it,
do
I've had
anything
enough.
right.
Do you think he looked at the Man United job? Ignore the fact that we're Man United and you can't cross the divide. Ignore that. Just
No.
professionally. Does Pep Guardiola look at Man United now and go, I could turn that club around?
Nope.
No, he couldn't.
No. Let me tell you something about
Guardiola, who is
Bad.
potentially the best manager that we've got in the Premier League right now. He can't do it.
Let me
What
tell you
chance
something about
would-
Guardiola. Let me tell you about he hasn't got the balls to go manage anyone outside an elite bottomless bank account. Pep Guardiola. The only place he would end up next is probably Newcastle when they just rolled out the red carpet for him. If you look at his career, he inherited that Barcelona side. He inherited the Bayern Munich side off. Was it? It wasn't a Hansi Flick, was it? I can't remember. He was.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They won the treble or something like that.
Yeah. And he inherited the City side. He's not done anything to build.
Well, then maybe with Pep, I've used the wrong one. Let me put in the manager you love the most, the one you think is the best manager in the world currently. Would that person take the job?
Nobody can turn our club around, Baz. Nobody.
There's only one manager, in my opinion, that could have come in or could come in, and I'll say it's Klopp. He wouldn't be able to do it, because what would happen is Klopp would say to the board, I want this player. They wouldn't get him. He'd say, I want to get rid of this player and I want this player to come in. It wouldn't happen. And he'd go, bye. See you later.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So last hypothetical. Let's say that I like this hypothetical because it helps me understand the mind of people, and hopefully it will help people that have been watching this understand it as well. The best manager that's ever breathed, Sir Alex Ferguson. Let's pretend he doesn't have health issues. He's not, struggling a little bit, and he was still fighting, fit and ready to do it. Do you think that someone like Sir Alex Ferguson could walk into that dressing room, command the respect, and turn it around based on what he's done at the club before, with people like the Glazers sitting there and going, well, actually, this guy knows his onions.
Oh, this is definitely getting clipped.
Look what he's done. Do you think he could turn around and make this club great again?
Let me put it this way to you. After a day of working with this crowd, Fergie would turn up at 6:30 in the morning with a sniper rifle, camp out in Carrington and shoot the fucking lot of them.
Yep.
Okay, he would not put up with this shit. He would honestly shut Manchester United down. He'd close. He would honestly, and then he'd go to Greater Manchester, Nick, put his gun on there, and hand himself in, because there's absolutely no way he would cope with this. Fergie was a very, very, very smart manager, very smart person. He hung up his boots in 2013 for the simple reason he knew what was coming, social media wise, player power wise. He'd seen it with Pogba. Pogba was the catalyst for Fergie of absolutely destroying his faith in football. That was the catalyst for him. He knew what was happening from there onwards, and he just couldn't. He knew he would never be able to cope with it. Chucking the boot at David Beckham. All right, even Beckham says it was an accident because this boot was under a pile of sheets. But he went and he kicked this pile of sheets in anger and frustration. The boot hits Beckham, blah, 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 blah. All credit to Beckham. All right, he's photographed in the sun and he was stitches, and Fergie did all this. But imagine Rashford, and he got this, in the modern day society of wokeism I'm talking about now, there would have been all types of connotations spoken about. It would have been on social media. His eyebrow would have been out here and all of this. And Fergie knew this was happening. And so Klopp, as Dan quite rightly said, Guardiola, I have to say, I think he's a tit. But Guardiola, they know how to handle this type of player. Arteta knows how to handle this type of player. I don't think Ten Hag does. Ten Hag's more like Sir Alex. I'll line the trenches with you, and I'll take mortars with you, but you've got to do it for me, And unfortunately, our namby-pamby, moronic squad of players who can't even, by the way, change a 3-pin plug, I very much doubt, let alone plug in their electric car. They're getting away with it because, we've got somebody on hand that if something's broken in the house, they can phone 24 hours a day and he'll come in and fix it for them. That's what modern day football is. So Fergie knew there's no way he could survive in this environment. And, Sean Dyche probably struggles with it. He probably struggled, if you said to Dyche, you're going to have to use this app now to get hold of the players, because that's what will be next, by the way. Oh, you can't phone me, Gaffer. You've got to use an app, and I'll tell you when I'm free. I'll tell you when I'm coming. This all started, and there's a famous Liverpool story from back in the 90s. And I can't remember who the manager was. But anyway, a player goes into the office and said, look, Gaffer, I need Friday off, please. And I'll be back late Saturday. So, I need to skip the game. But I need you. Yeah, but I need to skip the game. Well, if you do, I'm going to find you 2 weeks' wages. And he lobbed 2 weeks' wages on the table and he walked out. And that was back in the 90s. And managers should have, and boardrooms should have looked at it and thought then, oh, fuck. Jesus.
Yeah. So Dan, we'll throw the sort of the last word almost over on this one to you as well. The point I was making by highlighting someone like Ferguson is that because he's done it, because we've seen him do it, because he's got that level of respect within the club, it feels almost like he would be the only person who could walk into that dressing room, command the respect, not like Stu says, just get rid of the players. And because they know that he's done it, I feel like he's the only one who would be afforded the time of 2 or 3 years to rebuild a club.
Like he didn't do it on his own.
They're not given that. So if this is the case we're in, isn't it best that actually we just sit there with Ten Hag for the next 3 years and actually just see what he can do? But give him, like you say, if we're going to give him that license, we're going to have to accept there's going to be a lot of rough with this move. Because you carry on this cycle, it's just, like I say, it's just Groundhog season every year.
Yeah, no, my issue is Fergie didn't do it alone. So as much as and Pep isn't doing it alone, and Klopp didn't do it alone. There's people behind the scenes like Michael Edwards, like David Gill, like Peter Kenyon, just that do things at clubs to really tick them over at the right level. And Fergie won't be able to do anything with this team without David Gill. You saw as soon as David Gill went, Fergie went, and it's like they had a little pact together because they knew without each other it was not going to be the same. So one of the biggest losses to Manchester United was David Gill going at the same time as Fergie. We could have done with him staying for 5 more years. Until you put the right things in place behind the scenes, and Glazonomics is a perfect example, you're not going to see anything else other than inconsistency. Because as much as you can sort of say, well, I mean, I'll say it. I saw it and it hurt me a little bit. Ten Hag's record this season is worse than Gary Neville's record at Valencia.
Yeah, I know.
And then when you take it as a whole,
I saw that.
Quickest managers to get to 50 wins for Manchester United. And this is what's so mental.
Yeah,
we're
it's
talking about a man out of a job, potentially, who's got the best win record for Manchester United in the history of managers. And yet, despite all of that, you're looking at his record now, and this is what I mean. One season, bloody brilliant. Yeah. The next season, it's like we've brought in, someone from League Two.
But it's the inconsistencies, and it's going to carry on being inconsistent while you've got a mishmash of players, some that he wants. Bainesy said it a little bit further up the chat in regards to, imagine Ten Hag started the season by telling Scott McTominay and Maguire that, look, you haven't got a future here anymore. It's up to you if you stay and fight, but like ideally you're going. And now they're the two that have saved his job probably over the last 6 weeks. McTominay's bagged his goals and Maguire's returned to form at the right time. And he's then got to have the conversation with them that actually we need you, but there's a possibility in both of their minds I'm getting sold again in 6 months from Manchester United. It's just so all over the place. There's no plan, and the execution of the plan from everybody, because Ten Hag's not perfect, is crap. It's absolutely rubbish. It's the very bottom of the barrel. And until it starts to change in the background, we won't see the benefit of it anywhere else.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And the thing about respect, by the way, I think Dave 645 was correct. Players don't respect anybody. They don't respect the fans. They don't respect the values of the club. They don't respect the club. They don't respect the board. I don't even respect themselves. Like I say, there's no way Fergie would have done it with Ten Hag. Whether we agree with everything he's done or disagree with everything he's done, Barry, you're right about quickest manager to 50, etc., etc., etc. We're in 6th place with this woeful season. Now that's due to everyone else, by the way, being just as bad as we are. There's only Arsenal, City, and Liverpool, and Villa.
I love the Freudian slip there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I know. Well, that's how I think of it. Look, I'll go back to something. Happens when you walk across their flag and you flob on it, you spit on it. That's what a true footballer does. People will say it's disgusting. It should never happen. Bollocks. That's what I would do. I'm on it. That's there's nothing like that in our team. There's none of this arrogance. There's none of this aggression. There's none of anything that you consider to be a real true warrior that takes the pitch, and it's really, really bad. And so moving forward, you've got to stick with Ten Hag. You have to stick with him. It's stupidity to remove the man. If we get beat Sunday, Ten Hag's got to go. Why? Who are you going to bring in? Who is the buzzword manager right now? Because that's what it will be, isn't it?
Graham Potter.
Who's the buzzword manager?
He did so well at Chelsea. I mean, he won so many
trophies. De Zerbi.
De Zerbi's another one. What's De Zerbi going to do?
What I mean, we want the buzzword manager. There are managers out there, maybe Carlo Ancelotti, you may consider, but what was Carlo Ancelotti going to do, okay, with the board that Eric Ten Hag can't? Eric Ten Hag deserves the opportunity to work under the new footballing operation.
Yeah.
He deserves that chance. He deserves a 2-year chance at that.
I mean, to be fair, Stu, when you say that, I agree 100%. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer deserved it. Mourinho deserved it.
Yeah,
absolutely. And this is what we're saying. It's the same mistake every 2 years, every 10 months, every 18 months. The focus becomes on the manager when it should be on the players and the back room, because that's what's not good enough. We've had plenty of managers that are more than good enough for Manchester United.
Well, Jarvis has made a point. Jarvis has made a point that's backing you up now. It's all about contracts, and he's right. Because ultimately, that's what you're getting at, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got more power than the manager.
So, has been said. Well, we're going to have to draw it to a close because we could probably have this chat for the next 3 hours quite easily. But we didn't preview the match because I think deep down, if we'd have done that, we'd have all ended up feeling incredibly low. But just for shits and giggles, there we go. I've done it twice now. Might as well. It's just how I feel right now. Stu, what's the score going to be at the weekend?
Oh, Jesus. Do you know something?
Look at that.
Do you know something? We may chuck a spanner in the works and only lose maybe 2-0. We're not going to win. People can call me defeatist, whatever you like, but football's football, and we're not going to beat Liverpool on their own. We haven't scored since 2021, Lingard, have we? Since 2021,
2018,
like
it might be actually.
Yeah, we haven't scored since for a long time at Liverpool. We may get a 0-0 draw out of it, but we will have to defend for our lives. Unfortunately, I think we'll lose 2-0.
Yeah, I honestly, the horrible thing about that is every single Man United fan would take that now.
Yeah,
if you could fast forward to Sunday afternoon and it only be 2-0, I don't know a Man United fan that would say, "Nah, I'm not going to take that." You'd take it because there's just no hope for it. All I'm looking for is players
to turn up and do something.
Turn up. Yeah. Just show a bit of something. But again, to not put pressure on Ten Hag, and I know we've spent a good half an hour defending him. If we go into that game and he starts one holding midfielder, I'm gonna lose my shit, because it's impossible that he could think that is a good idea. You have got to go into that game with 2 holding midfielders. You can't go with one. And if he goes with one, I'll have to start questioning where he's at. Like with some of his interviews this week, he said that we played well against Bayern, and I don't know whether he's just protecting the players or I just don't understand it. So realistically, I would take a 2-0, but I mean, I've seen the Liverpool team from tonight, and they've rested everybody.
They have. Yeah.
They have rested everybody.
They got beat 2-1, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost 2-1. I think Nunes came on for about 15 minutes, but they've basically put out a team that was about 19. So they are fully fit. We've just been toyed with by Bayern. I'm going to say probably 3-0 to Liverpool.
Again, that's a fair result. You know, people, like you say, they can say what they like, but you've got to be realistic in life, haven't you?
Lots of things going on. You do, apparently. NT's going to hide behind the curtains of the duvet. He's coming out in June 2024 if it gets too ugly. Dave reckons 3-1 to the Scousers, but if we turn up 2-0, so presumably if we don't even play, we're still going to score a goal. So that'd be nice. John says we've got no chance. Everybody's writing us off, so he's bonkers. 1-0 United. And then he says, no, realistically, I think we will lose, but I'm not sure it'll be a battering. I hope it isn't 2-0 to them lot. Do you know what? This season has been so mad. I genuinely would not be surprised if we turned up, beat Liverpool, and all of us again sit there and go, oh, aye.
And then lose
and then next time we play, lose 4-0. And it's just
West
that sort of
Ham,
game. It's like all that hard work, and then it's just because this is where I thought we were. We had such a good result the other weekend, and there we are going. Oh, here we go, brilliant. Here we go. Game against Bournemouth, got to be 3 points, surely nailed on. No, and it just wouldn't surprise me.
Oh, it
wouldn't surprise me. So there you go. You heard it here first. Right. Well, I think that'll do for one evening. We'll be back probably on Saturday. But if we can bear it, we shall see. We shall see how we feel and how everybody's feeling. But I think if there's one thing that today has done, it's been very cathartic, certainly for me, speaking to like-minded people and just chatting through, really, all of the absolute joys that Manchester United have put in there for us. Have we got the answers? I don't know. We asked the question right at the very beginning. Is the devil in the detail? Probably. What is happening at United? I wish somebody could tell us. Can we fix it? Clearly, the only person who's going to be fixing this one is Bob the Builder. And currently, he's not available. See you next time.